everybody. Welcome to Metaphysical Meltdown. It's Mary Beckman, and it's around 2 o'clock. So happy to see you today. You know, we have a treat, everybody. This is Galactic Week, if you've been following. We've got the hardest working man in metaphysics, sort of the James Brown of Shungite. Derek Condit with us today. And we are going to be talking about really just all galactic stuff. So if you have questions, and I already have two from people who have texted me personally, but if you want a question answered from one of us, just go ahead and write the question in on the Facebook page, which you'll be seeing in a minute. So welcome in, everybody. We're just waiting until we get a couple people here. So everything I just said basically won't be seen till later. So anyway, so Derek, the thing is about Derek, I'm so lucky to have him because he and his family just moved into a brand new big store in Mount Vernon, Washington. And they've been extremely busy. He's been teaching classes already out of the store. He is a speaker, a healer. He is a person to go to about bees, all about bees, honey, Shungite. He's just got so much going. I can't keep up with this guy. But today is going to be all about the galactics. So welcome, Derek. Thank you so very much for coming today.
Oh, thank you, Mary. I'm happy to be here as always. I appreciate your time.
Well, this is going to be good. And I was just telling Derek a moment ago, I have 5 pages of notes. And usually what I do is at the moment before we go on, I put them all together. And my guides told me today and my higher self, and they just all said, you know, don't even worry about this. It's going to be fine. Derek and I have talked a million times, and he is an unlimited font of all kinds of cool stuff. So what we have to talk about today is the moon, the sun, the planets, galactics, the races, all kinds of stuff. So just, you know, jog in there. Okay, so we already have a bunch of people. So thank you folks for coming on. So Derek, tell us what happened last weekend. We were lucky to be with our soul family in a group outside.
We were, yeah, that was a fantastic weekend there. So what we're talking about is, so Mary and I were with a group of our friends, and I don't really remember how many there were, probably at least 20 plus, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I like to term it the gathering of mystics and metaphysicians. So we were all out there for, you know, a gathering of energies and being with each other. So you know, I went into something like this not really expecting anything, as I always do. And I actually don't pay much attention. I don't even wear a watch, so I'm not watching the exact time of anything on these days. And this was of the eclipse, and then there were different planetary alignments. I think it was the day before Father's Day as well. Yes. So, yeah. So either way, we were out there. Mary and I were, so we were down near a campfire, and I don't know, there were probably a dozen people down at that area we were at. So we were doing, you know, what's generally termed as clearing or removing excess or heavy energies from individuals and the area. Just kind of, you know, making the space such. Think loving environment. So when we were doing this, and Mary and I were both doing our own thing. So as I was in my head, as I often am, I'm thinking, well, let's see if we can't just affect this whole environment. So I just went inside my head, started thinking, well, so I formed what's called a toroidal shape, a whole donut shape, as I think everybody listening knows. And then all of a sudden, and I don't know how to explain this, Mary, other than I'd have to say it was so for those of you that know, there was obviously the movie Matrix, but there's also a movie called Lucy. So and it's near the end of the movie where Lucy, where basically the 3D, the universe just pulled away from her. And in Matrix, I believe Morpheus and Neo were in a room sitting down in chairs, and then everything just disappeared. So what happened when we were down by the fire and I was focusing, what I was doing was what's called heart-brain coherence. So I was focusing on my heart and then seeing the energy move back and forth between my heart and brain. And I was actually glancing at a couple of friends of ours, and there was a large tree. In fact, come to think about it, I didn't realize this before. It may not be tied in, or it may be, I don't know. But it was the tree, excuse me, where there was a large piece of shungite about that size, so 2 fist sizes, kind of tucked in the nook. But regardless, when I was doing the energy, that's when the Matrix moment happened, and I kept quiet because it caught me off guard. It was pretty woohoo for even somebody like me. So I was looking at our friends, focusing, getting that loving frequency going, and all of a sudden, the entire world just turned white. But there were 3 people, 3 humans that I was there in my field of view that were still there. And I kept quiet because it shocked me. And I thought, wait, are they experiencing this as well? So I saw them still talking, but yet just like in Matrix, the ground was gone, the background was gone. And it was I don't know how to explain it other than a loving, filled environment. So again, 3D reality went away and it was basically pure white, but with feeling and emotion again of love. And that lasted, I stood there. In fact, I was even focusing on myself thinking, oh shoot, the ground went away. I'm gonna fall over sort of thing. So I was thinking, do I need to catch myself? I didn't need to. So I probably stayed in that moment for about 4 to 5 seconds before I was like, oh wait, what's really going on? Because again, I said, even for someone like me, that's pretty woohoo. And it happened in a fraction of a second to where it just zoomed away really quickly. And then I was there and I saw, I don't know how to explain this other than just excess energies, heavy energies, things we don't need leaving. And then all of a sudden it came back as quickly as it went away. And I looked around and I still saw you standing there with somebody working on them. And then I just kind of kept quiet in my head at the moment because I didn't want to make a big moment of it. So it was pretty shocking to somebody like me. And what I got from it myself was, I guess in the woohoo world, as I term it, a deep clearing or cleansing on many layers. Because of course we have more than our physical bodies. There's emotional bodies, energy bodies, and depending on your perspective, multiple layers of those and others. So really it was just a complete just removal of what was no longer needed. So sometimes it can be termed an upgrade out there. I just kind of shy away from that term because I see us all as already whole. It's just for us to realize it. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those Matrix or Lucy moments that, again, until now, I haven't had a chance to talk about. So I'm hoping there's some feedback from somebody. I don't have Facebook chat up for those that are watching this, so I'm not seeing any comments. But if somebody else has experienced this, I'm open to your input too. But yeah, that was one of the things that happened.
Yeah, there just might be a few people that might have been there allegedly on today. Well, I wanted to talk to you about what you were saying. So you were doing heart-mind coherence, which is something that I taught myself the other day. I read the book called Matrix Energetics.
Sure.
And I decided I would teach myself that. So I did. So I do it my own way. I got about a third of the way through and it just started working for me. And I never did finish the book, which I will one of these days. But anyhow, so when I hold the 2 positions, which if on a lot of people, it is heart, mind. Okay. So if I hold those positions, it becomes an infinity sign and then unflips up and it becomes a big white thing. And then I step through it. So it's really similar to what you just said. It becomes white, nothing but standing in white.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was. And that's the same feeling I get too when I'm using the heart brain coherence, activating. And there's actually 40,000, you can think of it as neurons, brain cells in our hearts that make up our second brain. Mm-hmm. And activating these, using these, of course, gets the energy moving and then you have easier flow that way. So that's interesting.
But it is interesting that you saw that. And that's what I see when I put the heart and mind together. That's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's weird anymore. But I just think it's funny because you're like, I haven't talked about it since. And for some people, it would be they couldn't stop talking about it. And I think that's what tells everybody that you are doing some pretty awesome energy work when you are doing that. And so we were asked by the owners of the lovely property for us to do that. She just said, you guys go do that. And other people had other jobs. There was one lovely individual who gave the prayer. Played music, and we were all sort of, we all kind of had our little job there. So there's people talking about the energy there. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And so my little job prior to us coming down the hill to the campfire was I was supposed to be looking around for the pink pyramids. And as people know me, know that that's what I'm about. I'm supposed to be raising these pink pyramids. So I had my awesome wand that I just got from Mosey. And I had my wand and I had Tom next to me, which was interesting. And he and I were just kind of wandering around and all of a sudden my friend's guide that is there on the property led us to the spot and said, this will be your first area. We raised the energy of the pyramid and there's more to this. This is about, it's about the grid there coming online. And so that individual, her guide now, told me, and there's your other one. So I went over and I would raise, there's a lot to it and I'm not going to explain because this is her personal stuff. And then I knew there was to be 3 and I looked around and the third one was already there. And they said, yep, it's already there waiting for you, which makes me think maybe we might have done something, or all we know is she could have done something. She's very plugged in. So it was an incredible day. That was solstice, everybody. My gosh, it was Father's Day. It was my dog's birthday. There was a lot going on this weekend, I tell you. So, oh my gosh. So somebody was saying, rarely, never had I ever seen Derek as overwhelmed about the level of the energy. He might be talking later on. You were able to see something extraordinary.
See and feel, if we're talking, I'm not sure of the area, okay, of what it was called down there, but I'll just be vague for the show, but enough will get across what I'm saying. So after the Matrix moment that was up there, we all kind of moseyed down through different paths. Incredible property. The energy is phenomenal. Just love everywhere. So as we're walking down the path, so just think of foresty path, of course, ferns all over the place, various types of trees, including nursery trees, as I was shown. So think of trees that have fallen down and then the branches on them stood up. So now you have multiple new trees growing off of the mother tree that laid down. So beautiful environment with lots of that going on. And then down a little bit lower, there was, we'll just say a space cleared. I'm not sure of the terms they use, so I don't want to get too worked up in that, but an area where there was like a wooden pedestal or altar made for energy work. So we were down there, and again, for privacy issues, I'm going to be kind of vague in this, but what the person, excuse me, in chat's talking about, and they're right. So I'm usually, and actually I'm getting an alert, a notice right now as I'm talking, they're saying don't be shy. So that's interesting that that's coming in. So what I'm getting at here is, because I'm actually feeling the emotion again now, it's kind of working me up, which is also interesting from my perspective. I generally am able to, let's just say, hide my response to energies a whole lot better than I did that day. I was so overwhelmed by a certain individual who showed up in etheric form, and is actually acknowledging me right now as well, which is interesting. That was such a massive energy, I couldn't even slow down my heart chakra. It blasted through me. It was actually took everything I had not to actually start crying in public. And for me to even admit this now is a big deal for those that know me, to even get to this step. And right now I'm doing all. So behind the scenes, Mary, right now I'm doing massive energy work just to slow down my heart chakra this moment so that I don't start welling up, because it's bringing back, of course, that, and it was pure loving energy from a connected individual on the other side to another family member that day. And it was, I'd say it probably was the most profound or strong blast of love I've ever felt. And I think it had something to do with not just the individuals involved, but meaning on in the etheric form, but here as well, all our loving friends. There was just pure honesty and love in that whole environment, and it had been built such before that, and I'm talking about the environment and the intent, that it made the energy just out of control, even for somebody like me. So again, I couldn't hide it. I was welling up inside, and I actually had to stop talking, and I can hear to my voice now slightly from that. So it was a big deal for someone like me.
It was absolutely beautiful and so touching to see. And you didn't know who this person was at all. So everybody, he gave the message and he had no idea who this person was. Everybody else in the circle did. So it was a profound moment of love and remembrance. And just, if anybody's out there that ever thinks that love doesn't, or life doesn't go on, it does. So it was beautiful, and we were all so happy to be there. We can't tell you any more about that for privacy issues. And somebody asked, where is it? And so this is not for us to tell, but this is soul family for a lot of us. So we are thankful for being able to do that. So yes, it was very amazing. So when people wish to contact either a soul on the other side or the galactics, since they're on going to be what we're talking about today, they're our subject today, we have to have our hearts and our minds open. And that was a very open group. And so when we were with them the other night, we were able to feel that love from the other side, but we were also able to feel nature spirits. I remember one time I was there and I took some photos in that same spot. You could see fairies. That's the first time. So, fairies and unicorns and that realm, you know, That was the last realm to show themselves to me. So I wasn't even sure till I saw them. Then you can't unsee those guys. So all the realms were pretty much there, I really felt. And so what do people do if they want to open their hearts and minds to the galactic races? And there's a lot of them.
Sure. Well, so I'm all about terming the terms you use and the wording. So to open yourself for communication, I would really more think about, so starting with your own environment first, getting your energies straight is what it can be termed as. So that means calming down. What I do is use a lot of visualizations. I'll see myself armored, as many of you have heard me speak about before, with the, I usually have a little demo here of a buckyball or C60 molecule, just in soccer ball shape. It's one of the platonic solids from sacred geometry. And you can use those shapes as a etheric vessel or armoring, like I was saying. So to tie into what you were asking, I'll first see myself in these environments, a loving environment, so that I have the right intent and frequency. I see us as radios, as one good analogy to use. And because we're radios, I want to choose a loving environment, love songs on my radio, and that's all I want to communicate with, so that I'm not just opening myself up to any galactic out there, meaning maybe somebody else from somewhere else. So I'd rather choose from the spectrum of love of those individuals. So that's why I'm kind of tying all that in to begin with. Choose your channels on your radio. And that's starting with that loving intent. And then rather than look out with my third eye, as I did decades ago when I was first starting this, I've learned to look into my own heart. And if they can communicate, they, meaning anybody outside you, be it galactics or guides, and we use different terms for these individuals, but if they can communicate through your heart, you know they're of loving intent. So I kind of term it like your firewall or virus scanner. So if you're techie, that's maybe something you want to run your information through to know that it's best for you. So I'll set my environment again by seeing myself in that armored, loving environment, look inside myself, and then open up from there. And then any input that comes in, I know, again, will be in alignment with my higher self and of best for me. So then you can open up and do that. You can call it a meditation moment. Do that and then focus, and then basically open up your senses, especially not your 5 physical ones, your sight, taste, touch, smell, all of those things, but your chakras, of course, your third eye, your heart, your gut, your crown chakra. And it's just imagining these, or like Mary was talking about earlier, the whole heart-brain coherence, using your imagination, excuse me, and that's what it is. Just see yourself, see these energies moving, and then as you see it and get more energetically vested in that action, you're going to feel the energies moving on different degrees. So that's tuning your radio, deciding on what stations to get or choose from, and then opening up. And then there's whole other steps past that if you, let's say, know the individual you want to speak to. But I'm just kind of being general here.
Okay, right. Well, shoot, yeah, when I was a little kid, I would just say, I know you're up there. Could you please come get me? This place sucks. And nobody did. And I always thought about, why am I not seeing them more solidified? Then I went to the Ascetti Ranch and had this big understanding. Well, actually, I had a reading with Wizard Ozanon and had the understanding that I'm going to see them right here. Good grief, because I'm going to see the ones that are of the higher frequency, because I just put myself there, you know? And so what you're saying, Derek, I just want to make sure here is that when we armor ourselves and we do all of our work within that beautiful heart field, so you've been trying to tell me to do that for years, and you know me, it has to get to the right point that all the veils lift. Son of a gun, I remember what Derek told me 3 years ago or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. So the thing about that just kind of popped in, and I've been doing it, but every once in a while I forget. So what I said to higher self was, I just said, could you just make that happen every time? I hope I'm doing it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What if I forget, you know? So I just said, I want to always just see everything right here, because you told me that I was a transmitter and everything I was working on was out there for possible nefarious beings.
You're a good manifester in the etheric. So, and what you're getting at here is, so you can think zip file when you're doing these things. So you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of thinking of the soccer ball. And again, it would be expanding from already being in your heart, expanding out, so that as it expands from inside your heart, it's clearing what's in you that's excess. You're not bringing it outside like a net, like a fishing net, catching energies or anything like that. So just a little visualization for those listening.
Yeah.
So again, you're expanding it out, silver mirrors on the segments of the soccer ball inside and out filled with love. And then you see yourself with what you want, be it physical healing, meaning see yourself at 100% already, or if we're talking metaphysical advancement or more input, see yourself already as such. And then that's when you hold space and it'll happen. But that's great how you were mentioning, saving the time. So I get up and I just say something like armor. And then that means to me, because I've had that chat with my higher self and guides, that means do the whole soccer ball expansion with love and blah, blah. And I go on and on. And you can do it in a split second.
Yeah.
So, and that's it's good to do, because then in the etheric realm, you can think of it as about 24 hours. So I suggest, every morning, and I do it, is get up and re-armor myself. And not just myself, if I'm traveling in a vehicle. Well, guess what? That magic love soccer ball is now expanded past my vehicle, or here at Mystical Wares as well.
It is really important to do that every day. And that way you can just relax, so that if the next being that's standing in front of you, if you've never seen that being before, you don't have to fear. You can say, show me your heart field, or I'm going to show you the door.
Yeah, you're actually invisible to negative or harmful entities. That's what the silver mirrors on the segment's about, on the inside and out. It holds form. So here in the 3D, we use things like cups to hold water. So it's a vessel. It holds it. So if you wanted water, and I kind of gave it to you without a vessel, a little bit's going to get where you want it, but not much. It's the same thing in the etheric. Our imagination and these sacred geometry shapes are the vessels that hold etheric energy. So when we use these soccer ball shapes and then see love, it's not like we're just sending love at somebody. They'll feel it and it'll make a difference. But if you know a little bit more, again, under the sacred geometry shapes, give it form. That's your vessel or cup in the etheric. And that's why I suggest maybe the C60 molecule shape, where it's a platonic solid.
Okay, so we've armored ourselves. We've gotten right with how we're going to say, come on in. We're going to say something like, my heart is open, my mind is open, and I wish to see you. Then what's going to happen?
Sure. And then what I did was, and it was very important, and you can be vague on this. What I did was, I only want, and I'm just talking to my higher self, you can call it spirit guides, whatever, it's yourself. You can say, I only want what's in alignment with my higher self. And don't go too OCD on the terms. And you're not saying that, Mary, yourself, but I'm just speaking in general. It's more of your intent. So you want what's best for you at that time. We're not pretending here in human form to know what that is, because we have limited input. So you're just giving away the power to your higher self to say, give me what's best for me at this time. And then you're already in that love bubble, or armored in love. Well, now you're turning on your radio, which is a dial, think a chakra. Now you've got a love dial going, open for input. And then you're going to start experiencing the subtle energies, the sensations, the pulses, the shivers, the goosebumps, things like that. And then as you calm your imagination down and just pause, your imagination is going to kind of run wild, and it's not your imagination. By the way, our imagination is real. It's that other 99.9% of the universe that isn't the 0.1% that is 3D. Most of the universe is invisible on other frequencies. And that's where us as humans have our controls, our heart chakras, our intentions to manipulate these other frequencies. So that's all you do. It's really just an understanding. And as our understanding or picture of this universe grows, we get more dials on our radio, and then you can pick and choose. So once you've activated, so armored, we'll go back to the beginning, armored yourself so your environment is such, chosen, looked inside, so now you're choosing the right songs on your radio to do. And then if you know of an individual or group, or just think energy, like you talked again earlier, think nature energy. Mm-hmm. Well, now you know, so for me, I'm a country guy, so now I know that I'm going to channel it towards nature or country music. Well, I'm not going to get any disco music or something else that maybe nothing wrong with disco. I just maybe don't want it right then. So then narrow your bandwidth or your frequency down and choose nature entities, always remembering that initially you chose what was best for you. And then be open, and then whatever's in that environment or frequency range that you can perceive, depending on how much time you put in this life to advance your chakras, you're going to get that. So when you had mentioned or I guess we'll word it this way: if somebody's waiting for a spirit guide to pop in their room and all of a sudden communicate because they did the 20 years of meditation, well, they're asking their spirit guide to match their 3D frequency. That's asking them to do the work.
Yes.
We need to do the work, match the frequency with our third eye, put on your prescriptions over your third eye, see them in their frequency. So, and that would be the easier route to go. And then again, your intent or imagination, your intuition will just activate and you'll just experience from there.
Absolutely. It's clearing our diet, drinking the good water, wearing the Shungite in your ear. And
Yeah, yeah.
I bet you why I keep meeting all those badasses is because I keep listening to metal. Maybe all the time I should eat. No, I'm not going to listen to that country music. I'm just kidding you. I'm teasing you.
Funny.
Yes, I mean, I just wrote down just for fun. I wrote down all the races that I had communicated with, and there's maybe slightly less than 20. But when I see somebody that I don't know and their form is a little unusual, I definitely ask. This is something I learned from you, which is, can I see your heart field? Can I see what you look like? Can I feel your loving energy? So if anybody out there is worried about meeting the galactics, they feel just like angels, in feeling. Don't you think they kind of do?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just ask, say, I want to feel your love and show, and then you're going to feel that welling up loving sensation. It'll just hit you in one level or another. Again, depending on how you experience it, but you're going to feel it. So that's your light detector. And we all have that, our sacred, our different chakras, our BS meters, you can call them. But in this case, when you're asking, show me your heart, you're going to feel that loving, welling up sensation. And negative entities can't fake that. So you can't fake love. We all know that as humans as well. It goes on many levels.
It does. And it kind of also goes with, if you want to see ships, you open you feel, well, I feel them, I hear them, I see them. And once you do, you remember how you've felt, how you've heard, and how you've seen. And then you notice more, I believe. And so,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so for those of you that don't know, I'm a retired correctional officer as well. So I used to work in the prison system, and I worked on the perimeter. And as my understanding grew, and I was there 16 years, as my understanding grew of the UFOs, the extraterrestrials, ETs, whatever you want to call them, the ships, and they're not all from other places, is why I'm kind of being somewhat vague here. You'll see them in your mind's eye, you'll feel them like you're mentioning, and then all of a sudden, literally, even on my last day of work at the prison, I was going up to turn in my uniforms. There was middle of the day, there was a ship above what's called the big yard, and there were probably 300 inmates down in the yard. It was maybe 100 yards above them. Nobody, even the tower guards, and they were talking about guards with guns and the whole deal, no acknowledgement of any of that. And I was actually so kind of dumbfounded. I'm thinking, this is pretty obvious. I figured everybody was taking notes. So even at when the ETs and UFOs and different things like that became almost just a distraction to me, no big deal whatsoever, they stopped being able to hide from me. Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't plan it that way. It's just what it was when I was like, say, quote, got over it and realized, because I'd communicated so many times, they just were in my frequency range now, even in the 3D. So then I would look in at them. In this instance, I saw the ship, looked in to have a little chat, and then all of a sudden they disappeared and kind of left, sort of deal. But I did realize nobody else there in the 3D, at least that was showing it, saw them at the time either. So it's when they're in the 3D, and you were maybe alluding to a certain place in Lake Trout, Washington, where you can go and have these experiences, and they happen all the time. Well, some people will see it, what they say in the 3D, and some won't. So it's to each individual, it's going to be different.
It sure is. And I think, there's at least one weirdo in every family. So I'm sure you had the experience of explaining things that you saw or knew to people in your family who just cannot see it, And so luckily there's a lot more these days here in 2020. I mean, all you have to do is open your computer and there's shows about every topic out there. But back in the day when we were little and we explained that, I really do see grandma standing over there in the corner, it's a little harder, it really was. And so then, you were kind of alluding to what's up there, what's ours and what's theirs. So I know that some of the ships that I've seen, I wrote that down, cigar shaped Nordic groups, triangular ships cloaked huge cloak ships, plasma ships, multi-level ships that I've seen some of, well, most of those, but not the multi-level, I don't think, unless you count Mount Rainier. But what I'm trying to say here is once you start noticing that that cloud isn't that cloud, you can just go ahead and say hello, and they might acknowledge you, won't they?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely. If you're at the level where you're realizing that cloud isn't a cloud or it's more than a cloud, then you're probably communicating on that frequency anyway, where they're going to hear you. Because if you're perceiving it with your 3D eyes, you're already past it with your intuition. So they'll definitely hear you. Now, whether they acknowledge, they may be going, oh no, that human down there sees me. We might want to cloak a little more. So it really depends who's up there that you're experiencing or seeing at the time. But yeah, definitely.
Might be just your family over your house, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And then also I've noticed that some individuals I'm around from the community will perceive, let's call them energy spots and things like that, where I'm seeing the individual or entity just standing there. So it's all perspective, and then vice versa, and this and that. So again, it's all an experience, and those on the other frequencies have just as hard a time coming into our frequency as we do theirs often. So it's a meeting sort of thing. The higher, the more we work on ourselves, think the more we can change our radios from AM to FM. And then, hey, if we really work hard and focus and commit and watch our diets, our thoughts, work on heart-brain coherence, we can go HD radios, where you're not just going to hear things, see things, but feel and experience as well. So there's a lot out there.
Absolutely. If we just quit eating ding dongs and Starbucks coffee, Mary Beckman, then you'd be a lot higher up there.
I think we all cheat to one level. I am far from innocent from anything, so there's no judgment here.
Oh Lord. Well, that's the thing is that pretty soon, I mean, younger viewers or maybe people who have been into this kind of thing for very long, or folks that are just waking up. I mean, we don't know who's watching. And of course, these videos go on YouTube, so we could be all over the world talking about this, and we don't know who's watching. So we want to just say that some people are feelers, some are seers, right? Some people can hear like crazy. There's a lot of ways to experience these galactic beings. I have rarely come in contact with anything negative. Most of my experience has been very, very positive. And of course, again, with Bigfoot too. Also, that is a distinct feeling when you're communicating with our elder brother, is it not?
Oh, it definitely is. And that's interesting you brought that up, because I got the better part of yesterday off. And I'm not, for again, those that know me, I don't really get time off. I have a lot to accomplish, but I had half a day off yesterday, got on my bike, went out into the mountains and did some Sasquatch gifting. I actually have a video I'll have to upload later, but did get time to go out there again. And more often than not, they know I'm coming, and not just me, but others. And they'll communicate, leave gifts, do different things like that, but they're heart-centered as well. So when I go out there, I'm not, all of a sudden when I'm communicating, it's via energies and love. They're telepathic. And then they'll speak that way, not to say they won't, just like they did the other day, what must have been a tree, done the whole tree knocking thing. And it sounded like they probably knocked the tree over to make the sound. And then they'll, come across in many forms, but they're definitely a loving race or people, not an animal. So they're not like a bear running out there. They're definitely people, and they're well aware of their heart chakras and the heart-brain coherence. So a lot of them have pretty much mastered that. So we're the ones that are still learning.
Oh, absolutely. I was preparing all this week to talk to all of you guys on Galactic Week, and I was listening to a video, and I think it might have been James, since James was yesterday. He was talking about you'll never find Bigfoot unless Bigfoot wants to find you.
Oh yeah, he's right. Yeah.
He's talking about somebody putting out 4 apples. One of them was organic, and the Bigfoot took the organic and left the rest. Bigfoot, no, it's good.
No, they do. There's a frequency around that. They'll know if you put raisins and M&Ms. I mean, there's living energy around one, and you can guess which one and not the other, sort of thing.
Oh, come on. It's M&Ms, isn't it?
Peanut M&Ms, just the peanut ones that are green only. But yeah.
Exactly. Oh my God. I ate so many peanut M&Ms. I can't eat them anymore. I ate so many. Do you mind talking a little bit about, I've got a couple questions here about the secret space program and then the 3D Space Force, 2 topics I love to talk about.
No, sure, I'll give input wherever I can on either of those. Were there any specific questions or just in general? So I have, now from my experience within the Secret Space program, so you kind of get what I just said there. So yes, I am one of those that was in it, but don't have much memory of active duty in there. Just kind of think entering, getting out, and then a whole lot of 3D, because I'm ex-US military as well, Army, where I have just endless stories and experiences there kind of synced in together. But yeah, the Secret Space program is nothing new. It's been around. There's different ways of describing it, but we're all over the solar system, and then depending on which level beyond as well. And then even, and you didn't ask, but tying in the moon a little bit, we're all over the backside of the moon as well as many other nations. And I think that's pretty much common knowledge now anyway, depending on the circles we work in.
Yeah, the moon, the Fanny of the moon was on my list there. You know, there was such a great picture I put out there the other day, talking, you know, we noticed that the moon always looks the same, kind of traveling with us, sort of like a spaceship. Can you kind of explain that?
Sure, and actually the moon is, and if you look really close and do the measurements, it's more egg-shaped, believe it or not, but from our perspective, it looks like a sphere. But it is the only known object that is a synchronous orbit where it actually stays and spins in alignment with Earth. So always, everybody knows this, seeing the same side all the time, which is unique in the known universe, which should throw up one red flag, I would think, as well. And then, so there's lots going on the moon. There's lots of names for it. And I would say, so I'll put it this way, from my perspective and my understanding and what I've experienced. So the moon's not hollow or anything like that. There are huge pockets in it, or segments or bases, like you've heard. Lots of different races come and go from the back, not just humans, but different countries. So not just the US or Russia or something like that. There's lots of countries that are doing it. And we're just basically going throughout the solar system doing different things. And that's part of the space program. And then depending on how far out you go and whether we're having conflicts with other entities, well, then you're getting into the different dark fleets and different aspects of it. But we've been space faring people, I guess you can say, for many decades.
Absolutely. And the thing is when you watch stuff on TV, I'm not going to pick on anybody specifically because I don't think that's very good. But if you do watch TV, which of course I don't recommend, but if you do, you just hear the old narrative. You hear about Area 51 and you hear about only certain things. And I rapidly understood a while back that there's a lot more than what people are telling us about nearly everything. And so at least now we have something labeled as well, they don't call it the 3D Space Force. You can even get the shirt, kids. I want to get one of those. So, you know, I think we've been trading with other races for years, have we not? Other galactic races?
Oh, absolutely, we have. And even when you're talking about the space fleet and whatnot, so I worked graveyard shift for 16 years. So I would watch the sunrise and I would face towards Yakima, and I'm tying all this in together. What I would see our different ships leaving in the morning. And it was early in the morning when the sun comes up, and then I would see different testing. So some of the 3D ships would take off and leave a haze or cloud trail. And then all of a sudden from the sky, I would see what either was a ship or a satellite turn on. And all of a sudden, just what you think, a ray of light would come through and it kind of corkscrew these things. And I watched this for years. And then as they were playing with what's called chemtrails or geoengineering, watch them evolve over the couple of decades on that as well. But there's a lot to see going on out there. And again, it depends on your perspective and locality. So when you mentioned Area 51, I probably went around Area 51 3 or 4 times last year alone myself. And Shungite built the Shungite grid around it, communicated. I was chased down, not caught, let's say, but actually, and then my last trip about, I don't know, 2 months ago or so, I was down and I tried to upload the video on Facebook. So I got up on my Jeep. I thought, well, let's get some video and let's just explode a love bomb inside of Area 51. So I pull over, and again, I was alone, got up on my Jeep, figured, and I was guided Well, by my guides, hey, you might want to record this. And I'm not big on showing things. I don't even talk about this stuff usually. In fact, I'm just now putting it out months later. Got up there, got my video out, and all of a sudden the old infamous white Suburban full of guys with binoculars and who knows what, came racing out of the desert. They all jumped out, watched me, what I was doing. And again, it's on the 3D, I was just holding a cell phone, nothing nefarious there. And they would follow me around the perimeter and stop where I stopped as if they were, going to find my Shungite I was placing. Good luck on that, because it's a little rock in the desert. So yeah, but I mean, experiences like that where they're following me around and messing and shutting down my cell phone. So I was perfect cell phone service, broadcasting live, doing it, watching the individual come, and this is all still recorded, watching them come out of their truck on some kind of electronics and my phone getting shut off as I'm watching it happen. So there's no doubt about what was going on. And so things like that. But when I did look, so to tie in the rest of the story, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on in Area 51 anyway when I was looking down there. Not, of course, on the surface, but down below, it's more of a distraction now. Things are in other places.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're probably at your store, and I know for sure they're at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, I've heard from so many different people, and I do believe that all those millions of ships that are in, I don't know how many, I can't say, but let's just say lots and lots of ships that are up there, because just like everybody else, I've had dreams. They're all up there. They're assisting us in some way. They're kind of all looking down, waiting for us to get our act together. Right? It's not
to different degrees. Yep, exactly. They're watching.
It's not like they're coming down to, do it for us. They're not going to. They're not going to, but they are going to.
Here for that.
Yeah, they are going to assist. Absolutely. So the secret space program that you were in, were you age regressed?
Okay, yes, I was. And I was actually in it 2 different tours, you can say, the whole 20 and back, and then age regressed, and then lots of mind wiping. And then after that's when I moved into this 3D reality, where even in this life as a kid, and we actually found articles of myself when my mom passed with me in the paper as a little kid, but they would come around in, yes, a white van and take me out of school. And I remember all of this, so it's conscious memories. Taken away, they would pause the whole class all the way through elementary school, drive me away. And then that's where the mind wiping would happen. And this ties in the space program part. But they would do that here in the 3D to use our family, because we're a family of intuitives, you can say, and more. So a lot going on. We're not alone, so there's others as well. But when there are groups or families or individuals, let's say, play with the radio frequencies a little bit, and I'm talking about the radios as our physical bodies, so maybe touch a few more stations, they like to monitor those, so and see what we're doing. And even in my 3D military time, I was taken throughout Germany for several years to different Nazi bunkers, underground, Hitler's eagle's nest, all sorts of things, to have me just experience it. Because of quantum entanglement, I could experience the past right now as well. We call it remote viewing and astral projection and things like that.
Yes, that's quite a skill, remote viewing. We've had people on here talking about that. So I believe that we have to get our voices out, people who are actually doing the work, that are actually seeing and knowing that it's a spiritual connection between us and them, that the old narrative and all the just the people fighting about the old stuff, I feel like that's going to go, that more of this interesting information about who those galactics are and how can they actually help us. They are such healers. You can call them in for healing, right? You can call them in and bring yourself up to the ship for the healing. Do you believe that?
Well, you can definitely do it, and how I do it first is tying it back into what I was talking about earlier for communication. Once you're setting your frequency, armoring, depending on what's best, and deciding you only want what's best, you don't have to go anywhere. So yes, I've had the whole, and you're not saying abduction, you're saying go willingly, so a whole different story, but I've had the extreme to where, yes, floating through the room, waking up with a little gray there, and that whole deal, to going up there by choice. But now you can also do it once you understand, and it's just an understanding. You can bring those frequencies around yourself, affect them yourself, and heal yourself just energetically here. so you don't have to go somewhere else. So just, again, depending on your understanding, and we're all here to learn and help each other. So as you and I share this information, you know, somebody's going to go, oh, well, aha, I can put myself in this loving environment, feel, know, and experience myself already perfect. And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to manifest such, and you never went anywhere. So you can go either way.
I love the experience of just calling in what just the term med bed I call in the med bed over myself and see the family come in. That there's nothing like that. That feels really beautiful to me. But at one point I had to say it, but I don't really want to go up anymore. So I was just like you. I want to kind of stay here. I can view from here. Here is cool. Unless, of course, you want to take me for good. Let's find out. Like I said, I'm so sorry, everybody. I have so many questions for Derek, and they're on 5 different places. Can you, actually, why don't we just answer some questions, and then while you're answering the questions, I'll get more organized with what I want to know in the last few moments. So there's 3 questions coming in. Teresa wants to know, according to the secret space program, why are you and some of you getting your memories back now? Has something happened to allow that?
Yeah, great question, actually. And yes, it's not them giving us access. And I'm a blunt guy. It's us becoming more of our higher selves. So becoming more aware, accessing more. It's sometimes termed upgraded out there. I don't like those terms because we can all do this. We're having those aha moments, those epiphanies, those understandings. Our picture is expanding, which means our view will expand. So if you know there's more to the puzzle in an analogy I'm working with here, well, then you know that there's places for the pieces maybe you haven't found a home for yet. So what's happening is our environment, be it 3D, and not just 3D, but the multiple levels of our environment are denser, more accessible for those of us that are working on it. And we can all do it, by the way. So we're experiencing more. We're becoming, again, those HD radios that I was talking about. I'm not settling for FM radio. I was, so you can think we're born as an AM radio. Maybe we get some input in one ear sort of thing. And then we work on our woohoo abilities, as I jokingly call them, but they're real, of course. And then we get some FM. Well, you can continue past that and start feeling and then working those together, again, tying into the heart-brain coherence. And then you get some HD radio or input. And that's when you start to get you don't get your memories back because they were never anywhere. You just weren't, or we weren't accessing them. So we have more access. It's not even that it wasn't there. Really, everything's there. We're experiencing more of it. So it's like taking a bite of lasagna and not just tasting a great lasagna, but being able to differentiate between every little aspect of that, including the spices that are in the sauce. So it's just more is how I would explain it.
That is a great analogy. So if folks want more of that, one of the big questions for Todd Rolson tomorrow is I want him to describe what is higher self and how do you get there? Because just recently I went over to fully higher self. It is very much like that. It is, because when you are reading and understanding everything through your guides, which they're lovely and we love them and wouldn't want to live without them, we're sort of getting their information too. And some of those guides, even the biggies, all were human, and some of them might have a little baggage. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, going direct is kind of the bomb. And I'm hoping Todd will really explain that. So let's go to the other questions here. So Peggy Sullivan Hunt. Let's see. Oh, gosh. Are you on here, hon? I think Peggy is the person that's on the other side that the daughter wishes us to connect with. And we are not kids. We are not going to do a lot of these types of questions. And Derek, do you want to answer that or you want me to answer that? We're looking for someone on the other side for somebody.
I mean, you can just go ahead and ask or say whatever you want to say or she wants to, and we'll both connect and see what we can get. You never know.
Yeah, there she is. Yeah, that's her mom. Sorry, hon. I was doing like 6 things at a time today. So it's Jennifer Hunt's mom on the other side. Okay, so I've totally got her. Go ahead and give your message and I will, if you want to, or you want me to start first, doesn't matter.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, so I see her. Oh my gosh. Okay, so she's got a lot of golden and white light around her. She comes in with the mudra. She shows something about her head. So she may have had something going on, either maybe that's how she passed. I'm not sure. We're doing it really quick. So Holy One, I always call them the Holy Ones. We're all Holy Ones. Okay, so what would you like to say, Mom? Shows me you as a little one. Did you ever have some time when you weren't with your mom or felt like your mom turned away? She is sending you nothing but love. And then I would pass it to Derek while I figure out what else she wants to say.
Sure, and it was, I'm not sure if the individual asking the question was Peggy. So what they can do is with somebody like me too, is just ask a direct question if they wanted to.
Yeah, Peggy is the mom on the other side.
Gotcha. Okay, sure. I'll check to see if she has any message she wants to say, but also if the daughter wants to ask anything, we can do that too.
I think she just wants to know how's mom. Mom's looking good, I can tell you.
Yeah, and she's saying I'm with you, with who you expected me to be with, and I don't know who that is. So she's definitely not alone. Oh yeah, mom's just fine. So no problems there, and she's having no problem communicating either.
Yeah, she doesn't. And she's really goldeny white. That's what tells us that she's doing pretty darn good. And she comes in with this, so she honors me. So that's cool that she does that. And the only reason I'm saying that is that she doesn't look like she's got problems. They'll come in with problems. And when I can see problems or issues, I can take it down from there. I can say, would you care for me to assist you on the other side? Oh, I got a question for you, Derek. Unless you had something else to say about it.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Do you, can you stay in the matrix when you pass over?
You can, for as long as you choose. So it's just a frequency, and you can choose to stay there. So when, I guess I'll word it this way. When I pass, so let's say, and it's, knock on wood, hopefully not going to happen today, but let's say I walk outside and get run over by a car and all of a sudden I pop out of my body. Well, I'm not exactly going to be jumping up, running towards some tunnel that opens or some other place that I've heard about or this, that, and the other. I'm just going to experience. I'm just going to be. I'm going to be me. Be there, not go anywhere, and then think. So in answering your question, then I'm going to continue to experience the matrix. I'm already doing this right now. You can term it your higher self. So I'm already in my higher self where I can jump into it, turn around and experience it now regardless. And that's kind of an interesting perspective. So I'm just going to become more of myself. So yes is the answer. You can, and then you can move on depending on what your understanding is when you're ready. So just be aware, we do whatever we want. There's no place we have to go or something we have to do. There's no Kool-Aid to drink as long as you're aware of that.
Right. Yes. Can't wait to go. I've got some questions. I know when you pass, you know a little bit more, which I'm hoping. And so our friend Lori Wilson sent me a photo of the photo that you took, the type of photo that you took that can show the aura. And she had it taken by you in January, and she had mainly blue and violet in her aura. She wants to know if she's made some changes.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking right now, and she actually had a guide behind her. I can see him right now. So at the time, he's still there right now. The spirit guide I'm talking about. Her aura is actually green right now. So on that, she was trying to connect, and she was probably, and I'm just looking right now. So she was trying to connect or think, hold a spiritual energy. So right now she's actually in the healing mode. So again, I'm not going to get too personal because, we're over the air kind of thing. But so for example, her aura is more green right now, which shows me that she's healing in a healing state. She's basically, repairing herself. It doesn't mean she's really sick or anything, just so she's regenerating. At that time, she was focusing on her, you can call them upper chakras, your other senses, and that has a bluer or sometimes a purplish frequency, color, different things, but color to it. And that's the channel the guides come in on. So it's different now. She's been working on herself, so I can tell her that, and that is moving because her lower chakra, from her waist up, are moving easier. You can call it your kundalini, but basically energy is moving more fluid for her. So yeah, it's looking good.
Okay, very good. And apologies to whoever asked me to ask the matrix question. I did not get you down. So we want to ask, Carrie is wondering about a dream. She had a dream the other night that she met an astronaut. standing on the edge of a solar system, 3 close-up planets. It was awesome. She's still thinking about it. The following 2 nights, I've had a similarly energetic experience in the middle of the night.
Yeah, she's been asking to see and do more is what she's been doing. So that's good. She's getting just what she wants. That was her guide. So let's, again, a think spirit guide. They're for a whole nother talk, but they're really aspects of ourself. You can think of it as but it was her guide showing her where she's come from. So she's not, granted, most of us aren't from here. Again, depends on your perspective and how much time we've spent here, whether we kind of claim it as home, being Earth and this frequency. But many of us have spent more lifetimes in other frequencies on other planets, and she's one of them, and so are you, Mary, that you've kind of, let's say, came back to be a freshman in high school to help others here. Mm-hmm. And then when you're more of your higher self, you're in other forms. We call it spirit form or things like that, or higher dimensionals. And that's where we spend times or lifetimes as well. So it's really a focus thing. What she was doing was her guide or an aspect of herself was showing her, hey, you're not from here. There's more. Don't get, and he's saying, don't get overwhelmed. You know, I don't want to get too personal here, but, you know, let the stresses go kind of thing. So that sort of deal. He's showing her there's a whole lot more. And again, she's not from here. So it's giving her a bigger picture.
Awesome. And the last question here is Fran wants to know if we could remote view into the future for any guidance to it. Though that's a $50,000 question there. Can we look around in the future just a little bit as our final question here and say how some things are going to go down?
Good. No, that's a good question, because of course there is no, and I'm going to answer, but there is no future. It's all now, all that exists. There's no linear timeline, past, you know, present, future sort of deal. It's not a line. It's all your perspective. So it's all happening now. So yes, you can remote view or astral project or intuit the future, what we'll call future energies. So it's more of a, think potential energies that will occur. And when you realize it as such, you can realize that it can all be manipulated or manifested. So if we change our way of thinking future, set, or path, you know, we're going to live to 75 and have 2.5 kids or whatever, well, that's manifesting pre-programming. So if you do what she's asking, which means just experience or look, you'll not only, yes is the answer, be able to view the future or the energies coming, but you'll be able to manifest them or mold the dough into whatever type of biscuit, croissant, cookie, whatever the heck it is. It's just it's a dough. And that's why we're in these big energy changes now. There's a bunch of flux happening in the dough of the 3D. Well, let's all use our love and make some, you know, some love cookies with it. So it kind of ties it in what we're doing now. Yes, it can be done, but we're also in the middle of it. So during these, as I'll term it, virus drama days, let's all focus on the best, highest intent and love, and just think what's best for all of us as a whole. And that's what's going to manifest.
It really is, because when we put ourselves in that worry and fear and we think about the future, it really doesn't bring about what we would like. It's better for everyone to really just believe and be in it, because I'm sure we've noticed, all of us have noticed, that certain things are really really real to us right now. I mean, really, this brand new, this ascended earth and this beautiful time and this very spiritual time is very real to us right now. But if you told that to somebody who's very fear-based right now, they couldn't understand what we're talking about, because they're not on that timeline. So make yourself your own beautiful timeline. Don't feel like you're getting fluxed, kids. Make your own dough. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so is there anything that you want to say in the end? Please tell people how to find you and how to connect for readings. That was one of the questions.
Oh, sure. We can be reached, and our calendar is updated daily. So we're still doing classes now. And you can schedule bookings or sessions with me via mysticalwares.net. So mysticalwares.net. I spell it because wares is a little bit odd. But on there, we're going to have different, of course, products. We have an online store. But again, our classes, and most of them are free, we're going to be adding things to the events coming up in the coming weeks so that we all can, you know, expand and grow and experience together as a community.
It's a really big, beautiful store, folks, and the classes will be great. It's very spread out, so it can still happen now. So go to those classes if you want to. There's going to be lots and lots of them coming up. Please just go visit the store. Go visit the big Shungite ball and Shungite ball's girlfriend, the big quartz ball, and the kitties. I'm happy that you have kitties. That little one, that little
Jupiter.
one. How come you didn't name that little baby Shungite Nugget? You missed on that.
It wasn't me that rescued her from a tree. It was a group of individuals on our that one night. So she actually got a couple names, from Smoky Quartz to Jupiter. It's just a little love kitten. Yeah, she's great.
Kitten. And I'm so glad that the big kitties live in there now too. Big Kitty miss, you know, wanted you guys, I'm sure. I know Big Kitty did. So yeah. Blessings to you, my friend, and thank you so much for coming on. Galactic Week has been great. Everybody tune in for Todd Rolson. And then I'm telling you now, I'm going to take a break for a couple weeks. So please tune in to Todd tomorrow at 2 o'clock, same bat station, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so very much, and I appreciate everything.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Mary. Had a great time.
I did too. Thanks, everybody.